everybody.
Well, just
It's
me.
it's Cathy and Angela here today. Jake is off working on machines, I believe. So it's just going to be the two of us today. And today we're going to be talking about wideback.
And he is happy to defer that away.
He is very happy to defer that away. So yeah.
Right. Even though our store, Fabric Bash, is known for having a ton of whitebacks, I love working with different material besides cotton.
Well, right. There's widebacks that aren't cotton. Well, there's like traditional quilting cotton. So that you have satin teens, which are cotton, but they're
Mhm.
shiny and they're silky and they feel really good. And then fireside cuddle,
Flannel's cotton,
flannel,
but
right?
it's got a
All
different
kinds
feel.
of all kinds of different stuff you can put on the back. I mean, you can put
Mhm.
just regular muslin on the back if you want on quilts.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, like lots of options. And I mean, I love wide back. It's so easy,
Mhm.
right? It is one cut and you're done. Load it on your machine and it's over, right? Not that I appreciate fancy backed quilts too.
Right?
Um, but there's just something great about finding the perfect wide back and having it done.
But even since we started in business, which is not, just crossed over the 5-year mark, right? The number of options of widebacks has really grown to
Yeah.
the point, even speaking with somebody from a company that does not have widebacks yet and now is moving into widebacks. It was kind of fun talking to that vendor when they were here because it was one of the top notch people was going around with our rep, and he was like, well, what do you think about this one for a wideback? And my staff and I are like, and then he showed us some other ones. We go, but those would be really good.
Well, yeah, and wide backs, you can get wide backs that are specific to a line.
Yes.
Um, and as a store, if I have that line, that's great. But I'm not actually a quilt store, so I tend to steer away from those, right?
Mhm.
Because I would have to know that line was really selling at a quilt store, and that quilt store didn't have wide back, right? So it, I tend to do more universal wide backs,
Mhm.
lots of cuddle because I love cuddle on quilts. But
90
yeah,
wide. 90 wide is yummy, and so yummy that we have made the commitment to have every single color of 90 wide.
yeah. I may have been walking around market with a whole big group of quilt shop owners. There was probably 4 or 5 of us at the time. We went into the Shannon group together. It was a great day for Shannon. I'm just going to say it was a terrific sales day for Shannon, because we were all ordering. I think they were like, "Whoa, who are these people and why do they want all this wide back?"
Right.
So yeah, I have more wide back coming in a couple weeks because I got my initial shipment and then there's new colors coming out.
I
So I had
know,
to
I might need
wait for
new
those.
colors.
New
So
colors, new colors.
should we explain why we're calling it cuddle instead of minky? Because a lot
So
of people
yeah.
refer it to as minky.
So minky is a type of fabric. So it's going to be that plush kind of looks like a stuffed animal fabric, that's got a nap to it. So that
Mhm,
is an entire type of fabric.
mhm.
And there is a brand in Japan that actually is called minky. And it's been a staple of probably more Asian than just Japanese for years
Mhm.
and years and years. Shannon's minky product is called Cuddle. And so we actually are using a name brand of a generic family. So it's kind of like that Coke and soda and pop conversation, right?
Right.
In the South, everything's Coke, right? Even if it's Pepsi, it's Coke, which I think is funny because I live in the Carolinas, which is the home of Pepsi, right? And we still call everything Coke. So,
Yeah.
but
Or
no.
another good way that, our cuddle, again, we had another big wig come through the store. Another thing that he said, it's kinda like minky is like tissue, like you're talking about tissue,
Hmm.
for for your tissue box. You got
Hmm.
tissue, it's a thing, and cuddle is like Kleenex.
Kleenex, right? So
Right.
it's the name brand that we are selling.
Mhm.
And there are shops that are not selling cuddle, that they're selling different types of minky, right?
Mhm.
So we're trying to be very definite about what we are selling, right?
Mhm.
Because it's, in my opinion, it's the top of that type of fabric.
Mhm.
It doesn't shed a lot when you wash it. I have some. We have some blankets in our house. My husband spent high school in Japan. His parents were stationed there, so we have some minky blankets that came up from Japan. And when I wash them, my entire dryer, thing is full of minky fiber, right?
Yes, ma'am. We do
That
the same
doesn't
thing.
happen with Cuddle, right?
Mhm.
So it keeps its fiber, which I think is important, right? And it's one of the reasons we tell you what the brand is that we're selling.
Right. And I am actually, I will say, a minky snob, and I like Cuddle because as a long armor, there are some minky brands that are out there. And when I'm trying to load the quilt, it's so
Kind of
slick
stretchy
on
and
the
lick and it kind of feels like petroleum as
yeah,
opposed to feeling like, you know, co fuzzy friendly cotton. So
right,
it's a little stiffer and it has a funky feel to the nap.
right,
Like it's like
right,
and yeah, so yeah, that's the other part of it is that I'm a snob when it comes to it. So yeah.
right. Um, so when we talk about Cuddle and we got 90 wide,
Mhm.
so obviously most of the time, I like to load. There's that whole debate in the long arm world. How do you load? How
Mhm.
do you load Cuddle?
How do you load Cuddle?
Both ways.
Me too. I was gonna say, the trick is not to stretch it. It doesn't matter which way you load it.
uh,
Load it parallel to the salvage. It's easier to not stretch it that way, but you can load it perpendicular. Just don't stretch it. You want it to load on flat.
right.
So
I mean, I will admit I love to do the salvage side as much as
yeah,
possible to the leaders because it's got that straight edge.
yeah.
But one of the tricks that we were talking about off screen was if you have to load it on the cut side and it's just a little bit like wrinkly, what do you suggest to do, Angela?
I don't typically cut it because you end up with minky everywhere if you cut it. So I mean, you can snap a straight line, right? So drop a ruler down and just do a straight line. When I'm loading Minky, I tend to get it onto my frame. So I load it on, and if it's not quite laying flat and I have a ripple on it, I will change where my pins are to make sure
Mhm.
that it's flat. So I'm kind of sneaking how I'm loading it on anyways, and I tweak where it's actually pinned on. So I'll, bring it up if I need to and pin on deeper or pin on shallower to get it to lay completely flat because the idea is to have it flat, not stretched.
Right.
So yeah,
Right, for sure.
but one of the things that kind of, I have friends that are very exact in how they do things and everything has to be completely square to load it. And that's their comfort level, right? My comfort level is it's going to come off my frame flat and it's going to come off my frame square if at all possible, both, right?
Mhm.
But I'm not going to stress too much about that backing being completely square before I put it on because I can manipulate that on the frame,
Right.
right? So, I'm a little more laid back when it comes to loading my backing than a lot of my friends who are long armors are. Like they see
Mhm.
me loaded on, they're like, Is that going to be okay?" And I'm like, "It's going to be fine." It's going to be fine.
Right. And especially because you're gonna put it on, you're gonna lay it flat, and you're gonna just to tweak it back just a tiny bit, just
Mhm.
so and you're gonna most likely see when the machine is going through and long arming, you're gonna see that machine bed a little bit through your quilt because that's we wanna have it looser, right?
Right, right.
Mhm.
Especially if you are not using a computerized system, right?
Right.
So we tend to go a little bit tighter on a computerized system. I still want to see that mole underneath my quilt top,
Mhm.
but I don't see it as much when I'm computerized quilting as I do when I'm free motion quilting. When I'm free
Right.
motion quilting, it is loose on that frame.
Oh, for sure.
Um, yeah, because I can handle that when I'm free motion quilting. When you're computerized quilting and you're trying to like do things like avoidance and stuff like that, you have to be a little more concerned with fabric draw because you're not constantly adjusting for that as you're quilting. You just naturally do it when you're free motion quilting.
Right. Well, and also too to think about things that are not cotton backings, how the thread is going to sit on there,
Yeah, is it
right?
gonna embed? Is it gonna sit on the surface? Like,
Yeah.
you could put leather on the back of your quilt.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not going to embed as well if you put, like, cuddle or flannel on the back of your quilt,
Right. Ooh, I
right?
love flannel is to get texture, whew, yummy. Yummy thread texture, wow.
See, and every time someone says that, I go, flannel, that would be lovely." Yeah, it's not something that we use a whole lot in North Carolina,
No, but in Nebraska
but in Nebraska, I bet that feels wonderful in the winter. Yeah.
oh,
In North Carolina,
yes.
I'm like, "Oh my god, can I turn the AC on?"
Yeah, no. It gets a little bit colder. But there is something also about so when you're using cuddle, here's another great question that I run across. Do you use batting? If you have a cuddle back and a cotton top or cuddle backing and a cuddle top, do you use batting?
So, I prefer to use batting. I
Mhm.
just like the way it looks, um, and it's a little bit easier to balance your tension. You don't have to. I have
Right.
done quilts that did not have I've done cotton and cotton and not put batting in the middle of it.
Same.
It is possible. Um, you just have to have a lot more skill when you're doing it, right?
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
I
Or a
pref
lot more forgiveness on the stitch.
or forgiveness on the stitch, yes. If I'm
Yeah.
doing it for a customer, it's gotta balance, right? So you have
Mhm,
no room for error at all on your tension,
mhm.
um, and that that can be a recipe for disaster with a customer quilt.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I can do it with cuddle without a problem because it embeds so well
Mhm,
into the cuddle. You don't really see the issues. If there is, a slight tension issue, you're still not gonna see it. Um, that being said, I just like the way it looks and I like the way it feels with the batting in there. Now, I will use lighter battings. Like, I have been known to use Dream Cotton Request Level, which is like
mhm,
it's really thin. Yeah, it's
mhm.
like, and it's you can put your fingers through it. It's because it's not made to be used on a long arm. But that being said, there's a couple other brands that are 1/8 inch cotton battings that I've used. I've used silk batting inside of quilts with cuddle on it, and it just drapes beautifully in it, and it's lovely to cuddle into.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
I, I love I love the batting in there because, yes, it's gonna be heavy, mhm, but I also,
Right.
um, I love I love weight on me when I'm sleeping. I love to have, like, a weighted blanket. So it's a great way to think about it that way too.
So I can laugh. I like me going, "Oh, yeah, we don't use flannel here." We really don't. You'd be hard pressed to find someone who actually sold flannel in my area. I'm sure there's somebody, but I couldn't even tell you what store that would be.
Mhm.
That being said, my quilt on my bed right now has cuddle on the back, wool batting in it, right? And it's just a quilt top it's a batik quilt top on the top. But I use that because I wanted it to be warm but yet breathable, right? So wool is going to be lightweight. It's not as heavy as it would have been if it would have had cotton in it,
But it's
right?
puffy.
But it's puffy. It's
I love
lovely.
puppies.
Cuddling on underneath it is awesome. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So, my grandkids were just home for the holidays, and my Lukey, 5, loves, 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 and still brings with him my cuddle blanket that we made him.
Mhm.
Isn't that cute? It just warmed my heart.
So I made pillowcases out of cuddle.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
for the twins when they were little, little. I mean, the twins are 13, 14 now, right? But when they were little, I made pillowcases out of cuddle and didn't really think anything of it, right? Because it's just soft. And when we made them, I thought they were going to be decorations on their bed because I was like, I don't even know if they should be sleeping on cuddle, right? But to this
Mhm.
day, when they're sick, those are the pillowcases they want because it's like
There
their
is
pillow is a big stuffed animal. Like one of my niece actually asked me the other day if I could make her a new one. I was like, "Of course I can.
Yes.
What color do you
Yes.
want?" And
Awesome.
that's a great way to use, especially if you're doing like baby quilts and you're using 90 wide. Making a pillowcase out of the leftovers is awesome because you have
Mhm.
big cuts left over if you're doing a smaller quilt on a 90 wide batting.
Infinity scarves. Infinity scarves are fabulous.
So saying that right next to me.
Yes.
So
They're
yeah,
so
this was in a
fun.
bag I got from Shannon. I don't know if you can see it with what my camera's doing, but it is Cuddle, and it sits on my desk and I play with it. It's kind of not my fidget toy anymore.
Yeah, that's a great thing. When our rep comes, they have like 3 or 4 suitcases because it's so full,
Right.
right? And there's so many wonderful products, and it's just so fun, and we all are like, "Ooh, ah."
So did you know that, I mean, I know Kathy knows this, but did you guys know there's different lengths of the fuzz on the back of the Cuddle? There's different textures you can get on Cuddle. It doesn't have to just be the flat stuff that we're normal to, which is not, I mean, it probably has a half an inch nap on the flat stuff,
Mhm.
right? Um, but you can get really long thread, fuzz on your Cuddle, and some of it is sculpted, and
Yes.
it's so cool. The one that I have right now, this one's really long,
Mhm.
which is, yeah. Now I'm petting this, and you're gonna see me doing this the entire rest
And
of the
they've embossed some of them too, so then some of the fibers laid down, you got, like, doggy prints, and, oh, it's just so fun.
And,
It's just
like, the
fun.
dots, the Cuddle Dot was really big for a while where you have, like, these polka dots that are the same
Mhm.
color as there's just, like, a raised area. So, yeah, there's lots of different things that they can do with it, and,
Mhm.
they're always coming out with new stuff and new colors and all kinds of
Mhm.
fun stuff,
Oh,
right?
they have cuddle on both sides now.
I've been doing Cuddle on both sides. Somebody told me you can only have Cuddle on the back, and I'm looking at them like, "In whose world?
Yeah,
Why can't
no.
I have it on both sides?"
I
But
have a
my favorite is, so my sofa quilts that we, like, cuddle under at night
yeah,
are Cuddle on one side, they have silk batting inside of them because I wanted them to be really soft, and
uh-huh,
satin teen on the other, and it's wide back on both sides.
fabulous. But
So,
no, there's a product that's what cuddle on it's fuzzy on
it's
both sides,
fuzzy on both sides, yeah.
but one, so that'd be perfect for, like, robes and pajama pants and
Or
all
a
kinds of that
throw.
stuff. Or a quick throw, you just put a little edging on it, or maybe not even at all. Did you know with that backing, with your wide back, if you put your long arm on there and you do wanna just cut away your batting and you just all you have to do is roll that side over, it does not have to be doubled over, that is a will not fray. So you
Mhm.
can just do a zigzag stitch down the edge and you have your binding already done with the same backing in the back.
Yeah.
So in a way, it can kinda save a little bit of money. You don't have to buy binding.
Yeah, you don't really want a French double fold binding on Cuddle, it would be really thick and your quilt wouldn't fold very well.
No, it would be terrible.
Yeah.
Um, but you can even I've even pieced a baby blanket straight on
Mhm.
the long arm.
Mhm.
So that's kinda fun. Might have to do another video, wink, wink. Think
Yeah,
I'll try to get another video before it's all good, right?
yeah. One thing that I have found with Cuddle, if it's on the top, is that your hopping foot on your long arm will tend to wanna stick to it a little bit.
Yes.
So I like using a scoop foot because it doesn't seem to have that problem as much.
Mhm.
Um, but I have also had to put, something on top of the Cuddle to get it to be able to quilt and not want to, keep, we call it flagging when it actually sticks to the bottom of the foot of the long arm.
Mhm.
Um, so just know that you may have to use another product. I use this is gonna be I shop at my grocery store a lot for long arming. I use press and seal on the top of it.
Yes.
You can also
Yes.
use water release stabilizer will also work so that you can just put it in the washer and it's gone, right? So just know that you may have to put something that's kind of slick on the top of it to get it to go because it can be a little bit grippy.
So let's talk about cuddle and different products through a domestic machine.
Okay.
This is a perfect opportunity. So, lots of tips and tricks out there.
Yeah.
I would highly encourage everybody to follow Teresa Coates from Shannon. She has
Mhm.
some phenomenal videos out there. Check out the Shannon website. There's lots of free patterns.
Yeah.
Pillowcase free pattern. We're talking the infinity scarf. There's all kinds of great stuff out there. But they talk about if you're piecing with Shannon, you can use that press and seal and it helps, and then you just rip it off. You're going to need to pin more, use the walking foot, and move a little bit slower. And I would say
Yeah.
that on the long arm as well, just a tad bit. We just want to make sure and keep checking that it's when you're working on your domestic machine that it's feeding through evenly.
And it's not sliding on itself because you get the two nappy parts together and it wants to like just kind of slide and go everywhere. So pin a lot or use those the
clippies.
The clippies. Yeah, I don't know what they're called. You know,
Wonder clips. They're called Wonder clips because they're wonderful.
They're wonderful. Yeah. There's a couple of different brands out there now. But yeah, use the clips too because it's thicker and they tend to hold well. But I use a ton of them when I'm piecing with it.
Oh, for sure. And like I said, this is a slow process. Now I have this one of these ladies that is going to start teaching at her store, which I'm super excited about. And she's become kind of certified with Shannon, ish, whatever that level is, an ambassador. I think she's going to become an ambassador. And she just has fallen in love with cuddle from the very instant she started quilting. But she does this like quilt as you go, at least for her top. So she puts it to muslin and quilts as you go across the muslin. So if you're dealing with a panel and then you put on your borders, then she takes that muslin, brings it into the store because she rents from us, and then she puts it on top of her backing with a little bit of batting. So now we're talking 4 layers, right? We're going through 4 layers, and she's and the machine is just like that's butter working through like it's amazing. So there's all kinds of great techniques out there with different materials.
And I'll also say, if you want to, when you go to bind your quilt, if you have either a serger or a cover stitch machine that you can sew around the edge of it before you put your binding on. So I actually attach my binding with it. It's going to like mash down that edge a little bit so that it's easier to bind.
Yes. Easier to do that zigzag stitch.
Yeah.
Think about a zigzag stitch on the side, not just a straight stitch.
Yeah, you could do a zigzag stitch. A lot of domestic machines will have some form of cover stitch on them too that you can do with a special foot. But yeah, so yeah.
It's good. But I have actually had a customer come in that she had a quilt top that she wanted to use, and it was for a outdoor picnic quilt. Okay. So she brought me in a tablecloth. And I use that as the backing.
So my picnic quilt has laminated fabric on it, on the back of it. So it was, I think it's Amy Butler, possibly, laminated fabric. And it's like kind of like oilcloth idea. But yeah, so that when you lay it on the ground, if the ground's damp, it doesn't come through the picnic.
So you just have to be careful loading that type of fabric because yes, it has to be tight enough and not loose enough. And there's a fine line. So you have to really watch every time you advance.
Yeah, that one was a little more fun. Okay, this is going to sound really fun. I actually ended up putting baby powder on my needle plate to get talcum powder, right? To keep it sliding on that laminated fabric because it was on the bottom, right? So
fabulous idea.
Yeah. Yeah, weird things that you do that I'm like, yeah, nobody's going to believe I'm doing that. Just spray a little, just rub it into the long arm. And I actually, if you put a little oil and then rub it in, it keeps it really, really slick.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Love it. I love that idea.
Thing, right? But yeah, I haven't seen laminated fabric in a long time. That was really popular probably 5-6 years ago. People were making raincoats and all kinds of stuff out of it.
Well, and food containers and like it was really kind of like it's a very small niche. I don't have a lot of people that go, hey, I got the laminated fabric.
Yeah. It was I think it was out when, everything came where like in elementary schools, at least around here now, you can't take plastic containers in. Everything has to be reusable that they're bringing in, not recyclable, reusable. So I know I had made baggies and stuff out of oilcloth and stuff to make sure, that they could be washed and that the twins could take them in and out of the elementary schools.
Now, let's talk about mixed backings. What if you had something that had different textures over it? I mean, I've never had any, but that just came to my thought of my brain because, my brain's weird.
So you're going to have a little bit of problem. I mean, not problem. It's going to be a little more of a challenge to get your tension balanced so that it's going to go across everything the same. And you just have to be careful when you're doing it. I prefer not to do computerized quilting on that one because I don't have as much control about
Mhm.
where things are gonna hit. I tend to want to free motion those so that I can say, "This area that's got minky on the back, I can pay attention to that and then come over to another area that has regular cotton on the back and not have a problem." But you can do it for sure. Yeah.
So I opened up my shop in 2019, and soon after I opened up my shop, we were super blessed with the guild to have a meeting in our store with Weeks Ringley from Modern Quilter.
Mhm.
Beautiful lady, really thinks outside the box. She goes, "We love cuddle for our quilting, but I quilt it with the cotton down and the cuddle up." Crazy. It's awesome that she even said that. So I would do, if I had a mixed backing or a mixed top, I'm going to make sure that the mixed part is where I see it on top. So I could do that custom quilting and not computerized per se. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah. Sometimes you have it on both sides though.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
'Cause, I've
Yeah.
seen I've been doing this so long, I think I've seen just about everything. The only time I had a problem that I'm like, "Yeah, this isn't gonna work," somebody had taken the patches off of somebody's uniform and
Yeah.
sewn them onto the back of the quilt. That's gonna cause a problem because you can't just willy-nilly sew over those patches. They're stiff, really, really stiff.
Or they catch the needle
Or they
plate.
catch or you bend them over with your needle plate, not realizing it, and then you have a folded patch on the back of your quilt,
Right.
right? So, um, and there was enough on the front and the back, I couldn't just float it back upside down because that would have been I was free motion quilting at that point, it would have been completely possible to do if I could have flipped it. But yeah, that's the only time I've really looked at something and said, "Yeah, I can't this is not what I'm gonna attempt."
Right.
Yeah.
Can we please put the patches back on after?
Yeah.
Right.
She ended
For
up
sure.
doing 2 quilts because she looked at me and she was like, "Yeah, no."
Okay.
I was like and in her defense, it would have been a nightmare to try to sew them on by hand
Sure.
afterwards. So, I liked her vision. I thought it was really cool, but, and it was fatigues on the front. I think it may have been fatigues on both sides.
Mhm.
Um, but and you see stuff like that because you're so close to a military base.
Right.
I'm only, from the north side of Fort Bragg about 40 minutes. So we see a lot.
Right.
Sorry, Fort Liberty. I'm not supposed to call it Fort Bragg anymore. It's
I'm
hard.
so
It's always
sorry.
been, yeah.
It's so hard.
It is
That's
hard.
hard.
But yeah, so we see a lot here too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, either way, what I highly encourage people to do is really, as quilters, sewers, we're very much, I call us detectives, right?
Mhm.
We're going to think about what the process, try the process, and revamp the process if we need to, right?
Right. Well, yes, of course.
Hmm.
Of course.
So think about it. Don't be afraid to try it, but make sure you have the right needle, the right thread, and take your time and have fun.
And if you have questions like, is this gonna work? Ask if we can piece a little sample to see if it's gonna work instead of doing it
Yeah.
on the big project first.
Yes. So you can also test stitching and test your stitch,
Yeah.
all of that good stuff in your tension, right?
Mhm.
Right. But don't be afraid. I can't wait to see what else, between flannel and cuddle and what's that other fuzzy stuff called? My brain is having a hard time at the moment.
Minky?
Mm-mm. There's minky and
Flannel,
there's
petal,
there's another
felt,
one. Now, felt is good. No, felt is
fleece.
fun. Fleece. Thank
Fleece,
you.
felt, fleece. It's an F word.
It's in there somewhere. It's in there. But fleece too is another one that I would treat
It works
exactly
really
like cuddle. Don't overstretch it.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a little more stretchy than cuddle.
Mhm.
I've done some t-shirt quilts with it on the back.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not afraid of anything. I mean, part of it is just getting it on there and playing with it and finding out what works and what doesn't work. Um, I mean, I'd rather do it on a sample than do it on the customer's quilt the first time, but I mean,
Sure.
sometimes I don't have that luxury too, right?
Right.
I mean, you can also quilt through cork.
Yes. Look at
Yeah.
all this great stuff. Let's think about if we give us a few more minutes, I'm sure we could come up with 1,000 more things.
Yeah. Balsam type of wood. It's like I'm just
Right.
I
We're
had somebody
good.
quilting through cardboard the other day. I'm not sure what she was doing with it, but she called me up and said, I'm quilting through it. It's not having a problem. Is it going to hurt my machine?" And I was like,
No.
"No, it's just paper."
I also worry, I worry more about the paper product coming
Yeah.
apart and not the
I
stitching issue.
At some point, I'll figure out what she was doing. I don't know. Jeans, right? Jeans are
Oh, I
really
love jeans. You
yeah,
know I love jeans. Yes, I
jeans
do.
quilt beautifully. So,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, you can quilt anything.
Mhm.
It's just making sure you have the right needle, right?
Yes.
Um, and making sure it's stable.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We're already at a little bit over of our time here, but
Yeah.
please give us a thumbs up, a like, and a share.
Yeah.
Bring in your quilters, have some watch parties maybe. That'd be kind of fun. Join the Quilting Academy. There'll be
Mhm.
more tips out there. There'll be a link in the description below.
And make sure
Uh,
you comment and tell us things that you'd like us to talk about.
Absolutely. This is for you guys. This podcast is for you.
Yep.
So, and it's going to be lots of fun and we're enjoying it. And Angela, I hope you have an awesome rest of your afternoon.
I hope you do too, and I hope everyone else does too. Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys, we're getting closer to the summer. Every day we do a podcast.
Yeah. And I hope to see you at QuiltCon. It's gonna be happening soon.
Yes,
Come to
QuiltCon. Thinking about that.
Raleigh.
All righty, dear. Have an awesome day. We'll see you soon.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.